When the first ships reached the silent, untouched shores of Virginia in 1607, the men aboard believed they were stepping into a new world, rich with promise. Golden forests, endless rivers, fertile soil, everything they imagined England lacked. They believed they were the chosen founders of a new empire. But what awaited them was not opportunity. It was a quiet, patient force that would soon push them to the very edge of human survival. The settlers of Jamestown arrived with confidence and arrogance in equal measure. Many of them were gentlemen, men who had never worked the land, never planted seed, never chopped wood. They came for riches, not for survival. They came seeking gold, not realizing they had stepped into one of the most unforgiving environments on the continent. At first, the colony felt strangely still, like the land itself was withholding its true nature. The forests were dense and shadowed. The swamps around them breathed clouds of insects. Fresh water was scarce, turning brackish with the tides. Fish were abundant one day and gone the next. Yet the settlers pressed on, building their wooden fort, unaware that their greatest test was creeping toward them with the change of the seasons. By the end of autumn, the signs were undeniable. Game had grown scarce. The rivers froze at night, and the nights themselves stretched longer, colder, more hostile. Winter had arrived, not a gentle frost, but a brutal, relentless force. This was no ordinary season. This was the beginning of what history would later call the starving time. Inside the walls of Jamestown, fear grew like a second darkness. The settlers rationed their food, but pests devoured their supplies. Barrels of grain rotted, cold seeped through every beam of the poorly built huts. Men woke with frostbite on their fingers. Some never woke at all. They were not alone, though the land around them was silent. The Powhatan people watched from the trees, guarded, cautious, and increasingly hostile. Relations that had begun with curiosity quickly turned to tension. The settlers demanded food. The Powhatans saw desperation and danger. Soon, the fragile relationship shattered completely, and Jamestown found itself surrounded, cut off from the world, isolated in a frozen cage. As the temperature dropped further, hunger began to claw at their minds. Their bodies grew weak, their judgment clouded, their hope dimmed. Some ate their last scraps of leather. Others boiled roots and bark into bitter broth. Still others disappeared into the woods, never to return. Rumors spread in the darkness, rumors of things the survivors preferred never to speak about again. In desperate corners of the camp, some had crossed the final threshold of human survival. Archaeology would later confirm what the documents only whispered. In the depths of the starving time, some settlers resorted to cannibalism, a truth as cold as the winter itself. The unseen collapse of Jamestown was not caused by a single enemy. It was the perfect storm of environmental cruelty, political arrogance, disease, cultural conflict, and leadership that was unprepared for the reality of the new world. Their greatest threat had not been the Powhatan nor the harsh land. Their true enemy was their own blindness. And yet, a few survived. When spring finally broke through the frost, when the Powhatan withdrew into the forests, when the river thawed and a relief ship appeared on the horizon, those who crawled from the remains of Jamestown were shadows of the men who had arrived months earlier. Their eyes carried the memory of hunger. Their hands trembled with the weight of everything they had endured. But they were enlivened in their survival. The story of America itself would take its first fragile breath. Jamestown did not fall, though it came closer to death than any settlement before it. The colony rebuilt, reshaped, and reinvented itself. Its survivors learned to work the land, to understand the seasons, to negotiate peace, and eventually to thrive. The brutal winter of 1607 became a warning etched into the foundation of American history, that this new world would demand everything from those who dared to claim it. And so, the story of Jamestown is not just a tale of starvation, conflict, and suffering. It is a mirror reflecting the fragile line between hope and despair. It is a reminder that the birth of nations often begins in darkness, and that survival, more than ambition, is what shapes the destiny of civilizations. The collapse of Jamestown was unseen because the world beyond its wooden walls never knew how close it came to vanishing. But through the whispered pages of journals, through the bones unearthed centuries later, and through the echo of that merciless winter, its truth remains. A truth as haunting as the frozen air that once drifted through the silent, starving colony. Jamestown survived, but it was never the same. Neither were the men who lived through it. And in their endurance lies one of the most powerful, unsettling legacies of early American history, the birth of a nation built on the edge of oblivion.